You know, I'm really glad you guys are here, because if I would have had this knowledge when I started, it would have made a world of difference. And I just had to figure things out on my own. I had nobody to say, hey, you're doing this right, you're doing this wrong, you're doing, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. And because I just kind of, was out there doing stuff, trying to figure out how to make it work, it eventually, I could have covered a lot more ground a lot faster. I spent literally years just knocking my head against a wall trying to figure out how to make this thing work. How do I get past that first or second employee? How do I expand the business? How do I get out of doing all the work myself and letting other people do it? How do I delegate? How do I hire people? And how do I, all these are, all those are questions. There's like a million questions that come up as you're in this business. I mean, I've always said that the lawn maintenance business is one of the easiest businesses to get into, but it's one of the hardest businesses to really make a good living at, because there's so many variables in there, there's so many factors, there's so many things you need to kind of figure out. I mean, shoot, and I'll tell you the story here in a minute, but how we got started and what it was like and everything. But you can get a trailer, some halfway decent lawn equipment, a weed eater, a blower, and stick a hitch on your family vehicle, and boom, you're in the lawn maintenance business, right? I mean, it doesn't take that much effort to get into it. But once you start going, and once you start having even the basic expenses, and once you start dealing with rain days and customer callbacks and all these different things, at the end of the day or end of the month, you're going, golly, this isn't as easy as I thought it would be. I thought it would be, I talked to a lot of I've talked to a lot of landscapers over the years, and it's just like working for somebody for $12, $15 an hour. Well, if I can go cut a yard in an hour and make $50, wow, I'm doing really good. But then after the ball gets rolling and you're doing this, that $50 yard, at the end of the month, if you have X number of $50 yards, at the end of the month, it's like, well, wait a minute, where did all this money go? Why am I not doing as well as it seemed like I would do when I started? And so, when I say this, I'm saying this from experience, because I've been through all that, and I've been through, trying to figure out how to make all this work. And so what I really want to be able to do is to be a resource for you guys and everybody else out there, and be that person that I never had, by saying, hey, this is, you want to do it this way, you don't want to do it that way, and give you guys some information that will enable you to be successful. Because, gosh, there is so much business out there. I mean, there is more business than we can handle, right? I mean, everybody is, is there anybody right now that is not overwhelmed right at this moment in time? Unless you're intentionally underwhelmed. I know you're just starting and keeping it limited, but you can have there's as much business out there as you want to pick up. However, the thing is, and this is what we're going to focus on today, is you want to be very selective on the business that you choose to do. It's not just a matter of just catching all the business you can possibly catch. Because some business you want to have, some business you don't. Some customers you want to have, some customers you don't. And you want to understand the difference between the desirable customers and the undesirable customers, and then the desirable customers you want to be able to profit from them as much as you possibly can. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is how to extract the maximum amount of profit from your business as possible. It's easy to go out there and just churn dollars. It's easy to go out there and just sell business, bring in money, and then let expenses go out, and then at the end of the month have just enough to get by on. That's not what we want to do. That's not what you're in business for. That's not what you should be in business for. You should be in business in order to extract a really good living. I'm talking about a really good living. You know, if you can't extract a really good living from your business, then just go work for somebody else. There's no reason to deal with all the headaches and all the pressures and all the stress and, you know, the growing the business and everything, unless you're making a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money, and we'll go over the reasons why there's not. So before I go any further, let me just go over a couple basic housekeeping things here. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to talk for about 30 or 45, 50 minutes. We'll take a break, come back, I'll talk for another 45, 50 minutes. We'll take a break. I find that if we break this thing up, it helps my voice, plus it helps you stay focused and keep attentive. There's snacks back there. There's drinks. Help yourself. Coffee. The restrooms are out that door to the left on down the hallway. There's signs there if you need to use the restroom. As I'm talking, what I've found is that if there's any questions that you have as I'm going through stuff, please feel free to ask, because I've found that as I'm giving these talks, questions that come up actually have a tendency to lead us in a direction that unveils some really good information for you all. So if I go through and say something and it doesn't quite register, or you're like, well, how does that work, or what is it that, whatever, feel free to, just raise your hand and interject and say, hey, can you explain that more? What about this or what about that? So I encourage that. That does, that really helps us to dig into this material. Speaking of which, I have some material over here. Please feel free to take any of this on the table you want. It's all free. I've got this book contains most of the information I'll be talking about today, plus a lot more. It has my whole story in it, as far as all the struggles I went through, and I mean it just really it explains everything. Please feel free to take a copy of that. This would be great for your own information on the basics of lawn care. It talks about weed identification, disease, how, just stuff that would be really good for you to pass along to your customers. What every homeowner on the Emerald Coast needs to know about lawn care. The Emerald Coast is one of the hardest places in the country to grow healthy grass. I don't know if you've discovered that or not yet, but it is. Grass does not grow naturally here. You have to force it to grow. And if you don't do certain things, that grass is just going to decline, and you don't want to be cutting sand. It tears up your mowers for one thing, plus eventually the customer will look out there and go, hey, I don't have a lawn, I don't need you anymore. So you want your customers to have healthy lawns. So this is a good book that will just give you some basic information on how to help work with your customers to grow healthy grass. I have a DVD here. Basically, this is in the same information that's in here, only in DVD format. Dave recorded one of my lawn workshops that I give, and we put it on DVD. And if this media is better for you to absorb than the book, or you want both, please feel free to take one of those. Copy of my newsletter. All of you guys should be sending your customers newsletters every month. Doesn't have to be fancy. This is just, as you can see, it's just very basic black and white newsletter with a few tips in it, kind of what we're doing. But the thing is that even though this is so plain and simple, I mean, it surprises me how many of my customers actually comment to me, "Oh, I love your newsletter. I love your newsletter." It's just like, okay, I'm glad you love it. And it takes me an hour, maybe a month, to put this together, and then we send it out to all our customers. But newsletters are a huge customer retention tool. It kind of keeps you connected to keeps your customer connected to you, because as you're going there every week mowing their lawn, most of the time you're not talking to them. Most of the time you're not communicating with them. You're not, there's no communication there, but this is a great tool for you to continually communicate with your customer. And customer retention is one of the key factors in growing your business. You can gain more customers, but if you're losing them out the back door, there's no benefit to that. So this is a great customer retention tool, and there's an example of it. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to go ahead and pass these out. What I did, I put the talk that I'm giving here in a notebook form, so you'll have notes. There's room in there for you to pass one of those back. There's room in there for you to take notes and whatever you need. There, Aaron. You got one? Here. Yeah. You got it? Okay, great. So, yeah, I think that's everything that I want to go over. Go ahead and pull out the sheet, the loose sheet that's in there. I want to go over this. This is the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about having a profitable mentality, because profit in your business, most of the profit that you'll make in your business is made right here. It's not what you do, it's the way you think. And it's the way you're able to recognize and take advantage of opportunities. So let's just go over this. Right now, this is the most opportune time in history to be in the lawn service business. There is no better time in history ever than to be in the lawn service business or any service business for that matter. And here's some reasons why. First of all, baby boomers are the wealthiest generation in history. Now, most of your ideal clients, most of your best customers are going to be baby boomers. These are going to be people in their 50s, 60s, and on up. They're the people that have wealth. They're the people that have the money to spend on things like lawn care. Okay? They're the wealthiest generation in history. They're worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 trillion in the United States. But what's interesting is they don't plan on passing that wealth down. And this is from interviews and polls that people have taken. They plan on taking their wealth and actually spending it on themselves in retirement. And part of that thing that they're going to do, that they're going to spend it on, is they're going to spend it on keeping their place looking nice, on keeping their lawn looking nice, on keeping everything manicured, on keeping everything nice and pristine. That's part of what they're going to spend their money on, so they're wanting to spend their money. Baby boomers are retiring at a rate of 10,000 per day. Okay, so when people retire, one of the things that they do is they're like, I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to play golf. I want to do this. I want to do that. I've got this many. I don't want to mess with the lawn. I don't want to think about the lawn. I don't want to spend my time. You know, they have acquired, they're at a point in their life where they've acquired these nice homes, probably their trophy home, the home that they're going to retire in. They want it kept nice. They want it looking presentable. They want it the way they want it, but they don't want to do it themselves. So what are they going to do? They're going to hire you to keep it the way they want to keep it. Americans now approaching or who are in early retirement are more likely to spend their money on themselves and pass it on, and they have many years left to live. The life expectancy, as you all know, is increasing. I have many customers. I have one customer, actually. This is really neat. Okay, when my son and I started our father and son lawn care business in 2003, this guy was one of our first customers, and he's still a customer today. Mr. Tansley, he lives right down here in Holly by the Sea. He's a retired Air Force colonel, flew jets in Vietnam. He's somewhere in his 80s now, and he's still going strong. But he was a customer back 15 years ago when Buddy and I first started doing lawn service. And so these, the people that you're going to be serving have this long lifespan. So if you can lock them in and give them good service and do well for them, they're the lifetime value of that customer. I've never thought about this until this moment, but it would probably be a good thing for me to go back and try and calculate. But the lifetime value that Mr. Tansley has given us, as far as how much money he's given us over the last 15 years, it's got to be in the neighborhood of $40,000, $50,000. Just that one customer has been worth $40,000 or $50,000 to us. So that's though, and there's a lot of those Mr. Tansleys out there. Okay, let's bring it a little closer to home now as far as the opportunity that we're looking at. Santa Rosa County, now I know all of you don't work in Santa Rosa County, but the neighboring counties are have similar growth patterns. But Santa Rosa County is the 8th fastest growing county in Florida out of 67. Santa Rosa County has the 4th highest median income of all the counties in Florida. So these people that live in this county, they have money to spend. A lot of people are retiring here. A lot of people are coming to the Emerald Coast area from West Pensacola all the way through Destin, and they're retiring here, and they're bringing part of that $30 trillion in wealth that they have saved up. They're bringing it right here, and they have it ready to dispense to people who are willing to serve them. Okay? Santa Rosa County population is projected to increase almost 2% every year through 2025. It's interesting because currently our Santa Rosa County, actually specifically Navarre, just the 32566 zip code in Navarre accounts for about 20 to 30% of our entire business, just one zip code in the people that we serve. And it just grew to a certain amount, and in my mind I was thinking, okay, it's probably going to max out here. We built one lawn spray route in Santa Rosa County, and I thought, okay, well, good, we filled up that route. Well, it kept growing, and I'm like, wow, maybe we can even build 2 here. And so last year we divided it, and now we have 2 full routes, and those routes are so full we're going to have to start a 3rd one next year. I would have had no idea. It's just that Navarre specifically keeps growing. That's what we're going to be experiencing over the next several years in this area. So there's plenty of opportunity here for us. And in order to meet the population increase, they predict in this area that 1,500 new homes are going to need to be built each year. So that's 1,500 new potential clients every single year, new clients, these people that never existed in this area before, that we have the opportunity to service. However, In order to take advantage of this phenomenal opportunity, you have to know how to work smart and be able to extract the highest amount of profit from every job that you do. Just because there's a lot of volume out there, just because there's a lot of potential customers to serve, doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be profitable. You have to do some things in order to take that opportunity and leverage it into a profitable, highly profitable business. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So open up to the page, we'll start on page 2. How to generate more profit from your lawn service business than you can imagine. Okay, let me give you a little bit of history about, kind of what we've done and what I've done, where we've come from. So, back in 2003, well, let me start by saying back in 1991, I started my first business. It was a pest control and lawn service business. I ran that for 10 years and then sold it around 2001. Around 2003, my wife was homeschooling our 5 children. And my oldest son, Buddy, was 13 years old at the time, and he was just struggling. Later we found out he had ADD, but at the time, she would literally sit down with him with a page of math at the kitchen table to do it, and it would take him literally all day to do a page of math because he'd start on it and then he'd just be like off in la la land, and she'd be like, "Okay, buddy, come on, focus. You're like, okay, do a problem. Off in la la land again, and that went on all day, and it got to the point to where they were about ready to just strangle one another because she was frustrated, he was frustrated. They were just not having a good time. So what I did is I made the recommendation. I said, "Hey, Buddy, would you like to start a father and son landscape business? What I'll do is I'll take the business experience and incorporate homeschooling into it, and that way you're not stuck doing paperwork. We can go around. I'll teach you how to, we'll take math and incorporate it into the, running the business numbers, and I'll teach you how to do customer service, and I'll teach you, all this different stuff. And, hey, by the time you're 18 years old, if nothing else, you'll know how to run a business if you want to go run a business. So anything to get out of the daily routine of homeschool, he was for. My wife agreed to it, so that's what we did. In 2003, it was about, I think, May of 2003. He was still 13 years old. He wasn't going to be 14 until August. So we bought a 12-foot basket trailer, single axle. We had a used Skag mower, a Ryobi weed eater with 4 different attachments, and I think a push mower. And we had a GMC Safari van that we stuck a hitch on, and we were in business. Had magnetic signs to go on the side of the van. And what we did, we just started handing out, we started going around sticking flyers in people's doors. Well, we did that, and eventually, when you start doing activity like that, you start picking up customers. And so we did. We picked up one after another, and things were going along pretty good. We started to grow our business slowly, and we eventually added equipment and bought a used pickup truck and gave the van back to my wife and different things. I never forget one of the first jobs we did. It was so funny. So I had another friend who had a large landscape business, and he was doing a landscape redo at a very high-end house out in Destin in Kelly Plantation. I mean, this was one of these $1 million homes and everything. So what he did is he hired us. They had these the driveway was lined with Yopons, and they had been there many years, and he hired us to remove the Yopons. So here we are at this $1 million house out in Kelly Plantation. Took a rope, tied it around the Yopon, backed the van up, tied it around the hitch, and boom, boom, boom. Yanked the Yopons out of the ground with a rope. I look back on that and I just kind of wonder what the neighbors thought. Anyway, we just did. You know what? When you get started, you just do what you have to do, right? And when somebody asks you, "Can you do that?" "Oh yeah, I can do that." In your mind, you're thinking, "I've never done that before," but yeah, I can do that. And then you just do it. You figure out how to do it, right? And then after you figure out how to do it, you might make money, you might lose money, but after you do it one time, then it's like, oh, okay, that's how you do that. And then you know how to price it from then on. I'll tell you another quick story on that. Again, when Buddy and I we were just getting started. So one of our first customers, she had this like 12 by 12 cement slab in her backyard that was supposed to be for a shed. And she goes, "I want that slab removed. Can you do it?" "Oh yeah, we can do it." And so in my mind I'm thinking, how hard can that be? You rent a jackhammer from the place, you jackhammer it up, and then you remove it. It can't be that. It took us 3 days to get that thing out, and that cement was so heavy. What we had, our mower, I don't know if they don't even make them anymore. It was one of the very first zero-turn mowers. It was a Skag, and it was the one where it had the single wheel in the back and the big deck out front and the 2 wheels on the side, and it was, so what we would do is we would, so it was in the backyard, it was way in the backyard, so we would bust up the concrete, take a chunk of concrete, set it on the deck of the mower and drive it to the curb, load it in the back of the truck, drive back, and we just did that back and forth and back and forth. And then we had all this concrete to get rid of. Where are you going to get rid of all this concrete? So what we did was I made a pile of it and thought, well, it'll take me a while, but what I'll do is I'll just throw a chunk in the trash can every time the trash truck comes by. So I started doing that. Trash day, I'd pick up a chunk of concrete, throw it in the trash can, take it out to the road, and then I kind of go like that and watch the trash can, boom, with the hydraulic arm. And I'm like, okay, chunk, chunk, two, boom, okay, 1, 2, 3, and eventually I got it to where that trash can was so heavy I could barely drag it down. I mean, we're probably talking 300-400 pounds, probably at least. Put it out, that thing would just pick it up, just dump it, and I'm like, yes. So anyway, finally, after probably 3 or 4 months, all that concrete was gone. But anyway, so Buddy and I, we built our business, and then around 2008, 2009, Buddy got to be, he was 17, 18 years old, and he's like, working for Dad wasn't all that cool anymore. I need to go out and experience the real world. So he quit and went to work for Walmart, and that didn't work out too well. He kind of, figured out that working for Walmart was just not that great of a gig, so he decided to enlist in the Army. And he enlisted in the Army for 6.5 years. Well, during that time, what I did, I hired what I called substitute sons. So I kept the father-son name and just found young guys to come in and work with me. And by this time, we had a pretty good clientele base. We were mainly doing mostly a monthly contract work, monthly mowing contracts. We were doing that 4 days a week. What we had 80, and this was just mainly in Navarre. We had 80 customers on monthly contracts, and we did those. It was myself, two other 2 other kids that I hired. And so we did those 4 days a week, and then the 5th day was either a rain day, or if we had like a little landscape job or something, we do a little landscape job. And we were just doing really well. I mean, it was a very sweet spot. We were probably grossing $20,000 a month with the business, which again, with hiring, just paying 2 $10 an hour employees, that was a really, really nice place to be. However, I got to thinking about this, and I felt like, okay, this is a good spot, but I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere from here. I can, but I have to change everything if I do. So I have the choice. I can either keep it right where I'm at and just keep going right at this, and I'll be fine. But if I want to ever have more free time or do anything else or whatever other than just work every day, then I've got to do things different. So I thought about it, and I thought, I'm never satisfied to stay where I am. That's my personality. I just can't stand stagnation. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got to do more. So I made the decision back in 2000, that was about 2011. All right, we're going to expand. I'm going to hire more people. We're going to do more stuff. We're going to, get more lawn contracts. We're going to expand so I can have more flexibility to not have to be tied to the crew every single day and work. So that's what we did. We went from 1 crew to 2 crews, Mo crews. Boom. We just opened the floodgates, let all the customers in, and within a matter of 2 or 3 months, we about doubled. I hired a landscape crew that would go do cleanups and do, just landscape stuff. Hired an irrigation guy at the time, also had a spray guy that would spray, do the lawn spraying. And so boom, we overnight doubled. Well, because I really had no experience at this, and there was a lot of things I didn't do right. That went for about a year until I was literally out of money. There was a time it was May of 2012 that I had, we were using a payroll company, and the payroll was due that Monday. It was, I can't remember, $7,000, $8,000, something like that. And I had no money. I just had no money. And that was one of the most difficult moments of my life, to be very honest with you. To have to stand in front of my employees, look them in the face and say, I'm sorry, you no longer have a job. I can't pay you. So what I did, I let everybody go. I didn't have any other choice. I kept 1 employee, one full-time employee, and I started again from the ground up. I said, okay, I didn't do it right. I got to figure out how to make this work. So I started rebuilding it, and what I decided to do, instead of being a full service, do everything for everybody type of company, what we were going to do is we were going to specialize. We were going to pick a market niche, and we were going to hit that niche, and we were going to be the very best we could be in that one niche. And what that was lawn problem diagnosis and treatments. That is the niche we chose. And I said, okay, so the mowing, landscaping, all that kind of stuff, it's just general stuff. We're going to pick this niche of being lawn experts telling people what's wrong with their grass and fixing it, and that's what we're going to focus on. So we started focusing on that in 2012. And then we started marketing ourselves at that time very slowly, just by sending out letters, direct mail letters to Navarre. We started getting response with those letters, and the marketing formula that we were using, people started to respond to them. Hey, I've got this problem with my lawn. I've got this problem with my lawn. Yeah, you can come solve that. Yeah, come. I want you to come look at my lawn. So we started getting more and more response. We started working with these people, and since 2012, I actually have in my office there, I have a framed, it's one of our old route sheets that is typed up that we used in 2012. It had 110 customers on it that we did lawn treatments for. So that was in July of 2012, almost exactly 6 years ago. So that was 100, I think it was 109. Now our count is up to about 1,500. So in 6 years, we've gone from 109 to right around 1,500 customers, because of all of the stuff that I learned back, when I did everything wrong. I didn't do those things again. I changed and I did them right. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Extracting profit out of your business, most of it is here, not here. So it's changing your thinking. It's getting you into a mentality of thinking about every time you talk to a customer, every time you bid a job, every time you leave your house in the morning to go work. It's like, I'm going to make a certain amount of profit today. And there's so many factors that try to inhibit us from thinking that way. Most entrepreneurs I talk to, and myself included, we don't ever want to be accused of gouging anybody, right? And that's a big factor that works against our mind and profit, because we have a tendency to sometimes hit this arbitrary number in our mind just out of the blue, and we happen to think, well, if I charge above that number, I'm gouging the customer. But where does that number come from, and why did you choose that? And let me just talk to you a little bit about why it's really important to charge the maximum amount of money that you can for each service that you do. Number one is, if you're going to grow your business, it's expensive to grow your business. You cannot profit from your business just enough for you to live on. You have to profit more. You have to bring in enough money if you want to grow your business to buy more equipment, buy more marketing, pay for facilities, pay for employees, give employees raises, on and on. It's very expensive to grow a business. Keep that in mind. If you're at a point in your business where you're making a living but you don't have any left over to expand your business, you're not getting enough profit out of the work that you're doing. I mean, how much does a good mower cost? $10,000, $12,000? How much? How long does a weed eater last? How long? A year, 2, 3 at the most. All these things. You're keeping your equipment in top condition helps you to serve the customer better. Keeping your truck in top working order helps you to serve the customer better. All these things that are expenses that are factored into your business, all of that helps you, enables you to serve the customer better, and it enables you to grow your business. So growing and maintaining a profitable business is expensive, so you have to charge for that. You are an entrepreneur. You are a person who has stepped out, taken a risk on his own to run a business. You are the backbone of the American economy, and you should be well rewarded for that. It's a law of nature. If you take a risk, you should be rewarded for that risk, and it is a huge risk going in business. Look, you don't, if you get sick, who's going to cover for you? You're the business owner. There's nobody, you can't call in sick. If the business fails, or if the economy drops out or whatever, you don't have an employment. That's a risk. Any one of a number of things could happen. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, because I think being in business is one of the greatest opportunities there is, but it is not without risk. And if you are taking a risk, you should be well rewarded for that risk. You should make a way above and beyond the person who has not taken the risk and has chosen to work for an hourly wage or a salary wage or whatever. Not to condemn those people, or there's nothing wrong with those people, but they have not taken the risk that you have taken, and because you have taken that risk, you should be rewarded. You have no, unless you build your own retirement, you don't have retirement. You don't have company health care, you have to provide your own health care. All of those factors are risks that you should be rewarded for. You are the only person looking out for yourself and your family. And here's a point I really want to hit on. Again, it goes back to that, well, I don't want to make sure I overcharge the customer on anything. Listen, if you fail to charge enough for the work that you do, you are taking food off of your family's table. If you are not charging enough to provide well for your family, to provide them with everything they need, to provide them with a good home, a good car, health insurance, all that stuff. If you are working for a certain amount that you're charging and your family isn't getting benefit, then you are taking money from your family and giving it to your customers. You don't want to do that. You want it the other way around. Okay, you are the only one responsible for you and your family, and you should be well compensated for holding that responsibility. The only way you can provide outstanding service for a customer is to be highly profitable, to charge a lot for your service. Listen, you don't think about these things, but if you're going to be on time, you have to be highly profitable. Here's the deal. If you're running from job to job to job to job to job just in order to make ends meet at the end of the month, you're not charging enough for the work that you're doing. You should have enough profit built into each job so that you have a little time buffer. If things go wrong, if it rains, if you have a breakdown, if whatever happens, you have that time buffer in there so that you can show up at the next job on time. Okay, showing up on time it's a profit issue. It's not a time issue, it's a profit issue. Being highly profitable enables you to always go above and beyond customer expectations. Look, whenever we bid a job for anything, we always charge more than what we need to. But whenever a customer has an issue, we always go back and go above and beyond what we need to fix it. Okay, our company is positioned as the most expensive spray service that people can hire. We are. That's where we are in the marketplace. There's no other companies out there that are more expensive than we are. However, no other companies will go back and if we missed mole cricket damage, we'll go back and put in 3-4 pallets of sod for them, no charge, because that's the level of service that we want to provide. Because we charge so much because we charge what we do, we are able to go above and beyond and meet our customers' expectations, no matter what that entails. Being highly profitable enables you to buy off unhappy customers. Look, I don't care who you are, you're going to have customers who are unhappy. You can never make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time. However, my goal is that no customer ever leaves me mad or unhappy. You know, everybody, we are all going to have those customers. However, because we have set our prices and our profit margins so high, when I get a call from a customer that's unhappy, I don't cringe. I don't get a feeling in the pit of my stomach like, oh no, because I know that when I go there, I'll be able to do anything that it takes to make that customer happy, up to a full refund, if that's what it takes, because I know I can do that. I have the ability to do that now. Very rarely does that happen. I can count on one hand, or less, the number of times that I've actually given somebody a full refund, but I'm willing to do that. And it's so important if you're going to build your business and going to build your reputation as one of the premier lawn service companies around, that you don't let anybody leave unhappy. And if you have enough profit built into your happy customers, then your unhappy customers, you can buy them off and say, hey, whatever it takes, tell me what it takes to fix your problem and I'll fix it. When we as lawn service people, once we set foot on that lawn, we own that lawn, right? Because if you service somebody's lawn, they'll call you up and say, hey, I've got a dead spot in my yard that I didn't have before you came. Well, mowing the lawn isn't going to kill your grass. Yeah, but it wasn't there when you came. Before you came, that's people's mentality. They want to take, if you were servicing their lawn, they want to place the responsibility no matter what. We get it all the time. What we do is we fertilize, we treat for insects, weeds, and disease. That's what we do. We'll get a call, hey, I've got a brown spot in my yard. We'll go out, you've got an irrigation problem. Well, it wasn't like that before you started treating it. What are you gonna do? So rather than just argue with them, no problem. We'll put in a sprinkler head for you, fix that problem, it'll be taken care of. So we have the profit margin built into our other accounts that enables us to go above and beyond and just fix problems that aren't even our responsibility. We talked about fixing our own mistakes. We make mistakes. You'll make mistakes. I can tell you, I've got stories and stories about mistakes that we've made, but we've gone back and fixed them, and we've made them right and made the customer happy, and in the long run, kept our reputation way, at a very high mark, because people know that we're just not trying to blow them off. And here's a big factor, is that your time and your energy is limited. You as a human being, a lot of times we don't realize this. You as a human being have a finite amount of time and energy, right? I mean, you cannot work. You cannot work but so many hours a day before you either start to wear out, you run out of energy, your family starts to complain, you start feeling burned out, whatever it is. You have a finite amount of time and energy, so it is imperative that the time that you do spend out there in your business, you are doing it at the highest profit level that you can possibly do it. Okay, on page 3 now. So how do you go about extracting the maximum amount of profit from the jobs that you do? Okay, first of all, position yourself in the market so that you're not trying to hit a common price point, but you're hitting an uncommon level of service at a higher price point. Here's the deal. Whenever somebody calls you up, okay, Mr. Jones calls and says, hey, I hear, my neighbor uses you for lawn service, or I've seen your truck around. I want you to come give me a quote for lawn care. Okay, in the back of your mind, when you walk up to that house, you kind of scope it out, and boom, a number pops in your head, right? A number pops in your head that's like, well, houses, people have a yard this size, normally spend X amount of dollars on lawn care. Everybody else I know of charges this amount for this type of service. It'll take X number of man hours and come this many times and whatnot. And you've just got this, it's almost automatic. It's almost like unconscious that you have this figure in your mind as you're walking up to this customer that this lawn is going to be so much. Okay? I want you to ignore that figure when that pops into your mind. And I want you to think about everything that we just talked about. I want you to think about your family. I want you to think about your time. I want you to think about your future. I want you to think about everything else, how much money it's going to cost you to build your business. Yes?
How do you go back to the customers that you currently have and explain, well, I've gained this new knowledge and I realize I'm screwing up. I'd like to keep you because you're great. I have a few customers I'd love to keep, but I'm realizing that I undersold myself initially because I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
How do you fix that?
That's a good question. Okay, the question is, so I've already gotten into this thing so far. I realize now that I've kind of undersold myself, and I realize that I need to raise my prices. Okay, that's what you do. You just simply raise your prices. You talk to the customer and just look at them eye to eye, or send them a letter, whatever, however you feel like you need to communicate to them, and say, look, I've got these expenses, and hey, there he is. How's it going? Have a seat there. You look at him and just say, hey, I've got to, you're at this amount. I need to raise you to this amount. In a story. And most of the time, here's the thing that you don't realize. It's painful for customers to change. It's painful. It's called pain of disconnect. They're comfortable with you. If you're showing up every week, if you're doing a good job, if you're doing things the way they like it done, if you're watching out for their best interest, if you're doing all this stuff, they're like, oh, this feels good. And then they think about, oh no, if he leaves me, I'm going to have to find somebody else. I don't know anybody else. What if I get somebody that's not as good as this person is? What if I get somebody who doesn't show up on time? What if I get somebody who doesn't have the knowledge that he has? All of this stuff. There's a pain of disconnect. If you are doing a good job and they like your work, you can go back to them and say, hey, I need to raise my prices X number of dollars. What I would recommend is that you try it on like a few of your customers, and if you don't get any pushback, then do it on the rest of them. Or just do it on a few at a time. Here's a rule of thumb. Keep raising your prices until you get pushback. That's it. Just keep raising your prices until you get pushback, because you will get pushback. I've gotten pushback before. Okay, so I'll tell you again, my story, it's all a learning experience. Business is always a learning experience. You got to keep trying new things and learn, okay? So we started out from the time we started back in 2012, when I told you kind of redid everything, till now, we've probably increased our price point by about 25%. Okay, from then till now, and we just every year we just kept going up and up and up on our new customers, and then periodically we'd go back to the old ones that were kind of at that lower price point, bring them forward, kind of let them catch up. So we kept doing that, and last year we did it. This year we did it we identified 58 of our customers that were at a lower price point and had been with us a year or two, and at a lower price point than what we are now selling our new customers. And we sent letters out to them and said, hey, want to let you know in 2 months the price is going up, yada, yada, yada. So most of the time when you do that, if you do it right, you'll have maybe a couple of them drop off, but the price increase on the other ones will more than cover the ones that dropped off. Well, this time it didn't do that for us. We had more drop off, but hey, we realized that's where the pushback was. That's where the pushback point was. So now we didn't do it with everybody. We just did it on this section. So now we're just gonna, all these other ones we're just gonna leave alone, because we got pushback on this one. Another little story caveat in there. One lady that we sent the letter to was so upset, she called up the office and wanted to speak with me personally, wanted me to go there and personally explain to her why we were raising our prices, because it was just like, so I did. I went there, talked to her, and what I did, I just told her, look, I'll keep you where you are for the next year. Would that make you happy? And that, like, her whole countenance changed. She's like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that for me. I just, and so, we actually gained a lot more by keeping it where it was. She was just elated. So, that, and all the other ones, and then once we started getting that pushback, I told the office girls, hey, if anybody calls and is going to cancel for the because of the price increase, just tell them, no, never mind, we'll keep it where it is. All right. But that's how you go about doing a price increase. Try it on a couple customers. If you're doing a good job, and they probably know, they're in the back of their mind, they're probably thinking, gosh, he's not charging me very much. They probably already realize that. You don't realize it, but they do. But they're not going to say anything. They're not going to go, hey, you're doing all this work for such a little price. That's all right. I'm sure you have a formula. I'm sure you're making money. So that's does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So go above and beyond that common price point that you always have in the back of your mind. Go up when you're talking to a new customer. Hit a price point in your mind that makes you feel uncomfortable, that makes you feel like, I don't know if he's going to do that, but say it with confidence. Say it. When you quote a price, just get that figure, go about $50, $75 above what you would normally, if it's a long contract or whatever, and just say it with confidence and say it's this much. And you'll be surprised how many people go, oh, okay. And then you go, I should have said more. I hate that. And then the next customer, you bump it up another $25 or $50 and keep doing it until you get that pushback. And people say, listen, if you are selling every single contract you're proposing, your prices are way too low. If you aren't getting pushback on at least a percentage of the people that you're quoting prices to, your prices are too low. If you're selling every single one, you need to raise your prices. Focus your business, focus your marketing and who you approach on people that have money. Who are those people that have money? They're older people. You know the neighborhoods they live in. you know the houses, you know where they hang out, you know they're the people that play golf, they're the people that appreciate nice things. They appreciate having a nice yard. Their house is all nice and landscaped. Look, if you're gonna try to do marketing or stuff like that, or the neighborhoods that you want to focus on are the people that have money. Don't and again, if here's one of the things that this thing gets us in, our mind. Profit is, most of it's made here. If you've never been in a position where, if you're uncomfortable talking to millionaires, I mean, most people would be. If you're not a millionaire, you're just, if you're not at that level, which most of us are not, we are not. We're service people, but serving millionaires, and you would be surprised how many of them are out there. There's gobs and gobs of millionaires. You look at them, you don't really recognize them. A lot of them don't wear their wealth. They don't have all of the, trappings that you would, maybe think a millionaire has, but there's a lot of them out there. But if you're, a lot of times, you may, just be uncomfortable talking to people with wealth. Get over that. You just need to they're just like you. They're just like me. They put their pants on one leg at a time. There's no difference.
Their pants are like $5,000 though.
Maybe not. Maybe not. So the other thing is, and here's the thing. Again, I had to get over this. Don't price your service with your own wallet. Don't think, well, I wouldn't pay this much for that service. Well, of course you wouldn't, because you do it for a living. They don't do it for a living. You think you short sell yourself in what value that you bring to this person that you're wanting to do business with. You're thinking, well, mowing a lawn isn't that complicated. He could do it himself. True, but he doesn't want to do it himself. He wants to have the freedom and the time. Listen, a millionaire, if he's working, a millionaire, his time may be worth $200-300 an hour, $400-500 an hour. So if for every hour that he's not out there in his yard, then to him that's worth $200-400. To you, you're thinking, it's just mowing a yard. To him, it's a lot different. So don't have the mentality that, well, I would only pay so much for this type of service. You're not buying the service. He is, and it's going to be worth a lot more to him than it is to you. Here's the value that you bring to that person that you're serving. You're relieving stress and worry from his life. Listen, most of the people or a lot of the people that you serve live in HOAs, right? HOAs can be pretty nasty sometimes. In Holly by the Sea, if you're familiar with that, they call them Holly by the Sea Nazis that come around and they just look for yards that aren't trimmed, or look for yards that are, and that homeowner in that house knows in the back of his mind that if he doesn't keep his yard just right, these HOA people are going to come by and look at his yard, and he's going to get a nasty gram in the mail. Or his neighbor's going to turn him in and say, hey, this guy is bringing down my property value. And it doesn't, it could be one shrub that's not trimmed, but they're going to stress over it, okay? They're going to stress over that one shrub that's not trimmed. Everything else could be fine, but you being there every week on time, consistently making his yard, making his landscape look immaculate, that relieves stress and worry from their life. It actually does. It increases their pride of ownership. You know, people, again, millionaires, although they may not be flashy, they do like to display their sense of excellence. Okay? Wealthy people like to display a sense of excellence. And there is no better place to display that sense of excellence than in their landscape in their home. Okay? You won't find very many wealthy people who have shabby looking yards. Why? Because that's one of the reasons that got them where they are, is they have a sense of excellence and they want to put that on display to their neighbors and everybody, everybody that comes to visit them and everything. They want that sense of excellence. So you are giving them a pride of ownership in their property. You're eliminating physical labor for them. You're providing a level of expertise. If after you've been in the lawn care business, you start to pick up stuff. You start to understand how certain things grow, and what kind of plants are good in what areas, and how to what landscape looks good, and all these different things. That's expertise that you can lend to the customer to actually enhance that pride of ownership that he's already looking for. I already mentioned price or service to the point that it makes you feel uncomfortable. You've got to get your price up there to where it's making you feel uncomfortable. Don't walk into a sales appointment with the mentality of, well, I'm going to shoot him this price. I'm going to give him a price he can't refuse. Don't do that. That's the quickest way out of business that you can take. What you need to do is walk in with the attitude of, I'm going to shoot him a price. If he doesn't take it, I get this other appointment right after him that will take it because I don't have to have this business. That's one of the, listen, that's a key right there, is when you talk to people in a sales appointment, if you come across to them like you have to have their business, that if you don't get this sale, then you don't know how you're going to make. That may be the case. It may be, you may be thinking in your mind, man, I really got to have this job. You really got to sell this contract. But if you portray that, customers can smell that. They can smell that attitude. They can think, this guy's desperate. And number one, what that does is that makes them question your, just how reliable you'll be or how dependable you'll be if you're desperate. It also would encourage them to maybe try to talk you down some, because if this guy has to have this job, maybe I can squeeze a little more out of him. Look, go in there and portray to them, do some acting in the sense that, hey, I don't have to have this job. This is the price. Take it or leave it, and see what happens. I already mentioned the fact is, if you're selling every job, your price is too low. Your price is too low. What is, again, talking about people with wealth, talking about people that have money. $20 to a millionaire is not the same value as $20 to you and me. $100 to a millionaire is not the same value as $100 to you and me. People with wealth, listen, I remember when we first got married, okay? I would limit myself, I would budget myself $3 for lunch every day, because that $3 was valuable to me, because we were newly married, we were living on a budget. We weren't, we didn't have a lot of money. So that, having $3, no more than $3 for lunch, and that was important. Well, as things progressed, started getting a little, we started making a little more money, then it was just like, okay, maybe I can spend $5 on lunch. And then maybe I can, you don't want to, and it just kind of, what I'm saying is the more money you have available to you, the perception of the amounts change. And for someone who has a lot of money, who has an income of $10,000, $20,000 a month, I mean, that's not unusual for someone who you're serving. Think about this. Someone that has an income of $10,000, $15,000 a month, what is a couple, $300, $400 to them? They may make it sound like it's a big deal, but really, is it that big of a deal? It really isn't. It really isn't. So what's the difference between pricing your service $50 higher? What's another $50 a month to somebody who's bringing in $10,000, $15,000 a month? It's not that much. What they're going to look at is, can this person really serve me? Can this person give me what I'm looking for? Will this person show up on time? Will this person do what I'm asking him to do? Will this person, all this stuff? If in their mind the answer is yes, then that extra $50 a month, it's like, what's the big deal? No big deal. But here's the deal. If you have 100 customers and you get an extra $50 a month out of them, it's $5,000 to you. That's a big deal, right? That's $5,000 a month for $50 a month per customer if you have 100 customers. So understand that $50 to you is not going to be the same, is not going to be perceived as the same value as $50 to someone who that you're serving. A couple other ideas on selling these things, selling your service for maximum, for maximum profit. You need to portray to your customer that, well, you know what? My service is not for everybody. My service is only for people that want the best in lawn care. I'm not going to be just a mow, blow, and go kind of person, unless that's the market you're trying to hit. And if that's the market you're trying to hit, then there's other ways to sell yourself in that market. But if you're trying to hit the higher end market, hey, my service isn't for everybody. You may or may not want me because this is what we do. Dun 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 dun. When we talk to people, potential clients for our business, I already mentioned that we're the most expensive business out there, and we tell them up front, we're the most expensive business you can hire. You may not want to hire us. We have a minimum that we do, no matter how small your yard is, a minimum that we charge, and quite frankly, that's more than a lot of people want to pay, and if that's more, then I totally understand. If you approach it that way, then that communicates to the customer that, hey, well, this guy is going to give me more than the average company out there. This guy is going to give me above and beyond the service that I've normally been experiencing. Okay. One of the things that you can do to increase, what you want to do to increase your profit, to increase your profit level, is to build things into your service that appear to add more value in the customer's eyes, okay, but don't cost you more or very much in the sense of time, energy, and material, okay? One of those things that you could do would be to throw in a couple extra services throughout the year. Could be, hey, we're gonna come and winterize your pump winterize and reprime your pump every fall and spring. What does that take you? 5 minutes on a regular visit? But in the customer's eyes, that's one of those things you're going to take that stress and worry off him. Hey, we're going to go through and check your sprinkler system every so many months or something like that. there's you can sell it. You can take soil samples, let the customer know where his what nutritional value his soil has, so he knows how to fertilize his lawn. You can give or apply lime, or all these kind of things. You can build these things into your service so that to the customer it brings more value to him, but it doesn't cost you that much more in time and effort, and you can raise your prices and charge more for that. What you need to do, one of the main things that you need to do when you are selling your service for maximum profit is to find the customer's pain point and appeal to that pain point. And here's what I mean by that. We're on page 4. Okay. People, this is a key point, okay? This is a key point to understanding sales, understanding people. People are more motivated to alleviate pain than they are to experience pleasure. Okay? Say that again. People are more motivated to alleviate pain than they are to experience pleasure. And here's what I mean by that. Is how often do you have somebody how often do you go to the doctor, know of anybody who's gone to the doctor and walked up to the doctor and said, you know what, I feel great, I just want you to try and make me feel better. People don't do that, right? They only go to the doctor when there is a problem, when you are in pain, right? If I have back pain, I'm gonna call up the chiropractor and the massage therapist and say, how soon can you get me in? Because I'm in pain. If I'm not feeling any pain, I'm thinking, you know what, I'd rather not spend that money to get a massage and get an adjustment because I don't need it. I'm feeling fine. Yeah, it feels good. You know what? Yeah, it makes me feel good to go through that. But you know what? I've got other things to do. So when you're talking to a potential customer, if you can identify their pain point and appeal directly to that pain point, they will be willing to give you more money if you can specifically tell them that you can alleviate their source of pain. Now, when you're talking to a landscape customer, a potential lawn maintenance customer, what would be some of their pain points? Can you think of any? What?
Previous damage from other...
Previous damage from other lawn companies. Good. What else? Huh? Time. Yeah, they don't have the time to maintain their own lawn. Good. Huh?
Keep spending money and it's not getting better.
Yeah, they keep spending money and it's not getting any better. That could be a pain point. What about, have you ever heard this? Yeah, my guy just doesn't ever show up when he's supposed to. You know? Or, yeah, he's supposed to come every week and look how tall my grass is. He hasn't been here in 2 weeks. That's a pain point. It usually has something to do with the customer wanting things done a certain way and it not being done that way. Or, pain points can be, they can be anything, but unless you take the time and effort to find out what that pain point is. Look, if somebody just, calls you up and says, hey, Aaron, I want you to come give me a quote for lawn service. Okay, I'll be right out. You come up, look at the lawn. Yeah, it'll be this much a month. Okay, thank you, bye. That happens. But instead of just coming out, say, hey, hey, I want you to give me a quote for lawn service. Okay. Knock, knock, knock. Hey there, I'm Skip here. I'm here to look at your lawn. Okay, just walk around the yard and tell me what you think. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Before I do that, I'd kind of like to get a little bit of history here. Do you mind talking to me a few minutes about the lawn? Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Tell me, how long have you lived here? I've lived here 5 years. Okay. Are there any specific things in the lawn that you're not happy with, or that you'd like taken care of? Anything? Well, yeah. These bushes over here, they never get trimmed, and the weeds growing up under those trees just bug the heck out of me. And as you engage your new customer, or your potential new customer in conversation, you got to draw that out of them. You got to find out. Well, have you had anybody doing your lawn up until now, or will this be the first time that you've had somebody actually do this for you? Whoa, yeah, we've had somebody do our lawn for the past 4 or 5 years. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, what is it that they're doing there or not doing that caused you to call me? Because I would assume that if you were happy with them, that you would probably want to continue with them. What is it that you're not happy with? Well, they just, I don't know. They just, they have a new crew leader, and he just doesn't seem to do my lawn the same way that the old crew leader used to, and I'm not happy with it. And oh, okay. Well, what are those things that he's not doing? You see what I'm saying? Dig, and let them tell you exactly what it is that they're not happy with, that is causing that pain. And then you can say, okay, all right, well, I'll tell you what. Let me take a walk around your yard, take a look at it, see what it is that, what we can do for you, and then I'll get back and we'll talk, okay? Yeah.
Driving them around the yard too could help you. They have to face the issues right there while you're staring. Like you diagnose a top dressing or a sod or something, a drought stress, something that could lead to a good job. They have to stare at it while you're looking at them in the eye. They can't deny it. So you can upsell a service there. It's hard for them to refuse when you're able to actually diagnose it right there in front of them.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a good point. Another thing I'll throw in there is that a lot of times you'll walk around a yard or talk to a customer, and in your mind you'll think, you'll see something and you go, oh, this must be the problem, because it stands out to you. But don't always assume that. Don't always assume that what you see as a problem is what the customer perceives as a problem. A lot of times when I'll go to a lawn diagnosis, I'll walk, from the curb up to the front door, and I'm just kind of doing this, kind of looking around for problems and looking, for whatever, and I'll see a lot of mole cricket activity. And I'll go, wow, this is the issue. But when I approach the customer, I won't say, knock, 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 hi, Mr. Smith. I'm here, and I wanted to let you know, this is what we can do for your mole cricket activity. He may not even be aware that he has any. That may not even be his pain point. He may have something totally different in mind. So what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'm here to look at the lawn. What is it that you're concerned about? And, oh, yeah, well, and he may lead me in a totally different direction. And it may be the weeds he has in his backyard, and he may be totally oblivious to what he has going on in his front yard. So what I'll do is, I won't even mention what I see in the front yard. I'll just focus in on that one pain point of that weeds and say, okay, this is what we can do for your weeds. We can do this, 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 and this. And it'll take care of this weed problem for you, and it'll be this much a month. Okay? Boom, it's done and over with. Once we lock down that service, then I can say, okay, and by the way, I did notice some mole cricket activity in your front yard. Want to let you know we're going to take care of that as well. Sound good? Oh, okay, I didn't even, yeah, it's right over here. Let me show you. It's right here, and so what we do is we focus in, we identify that pain point that customer has, focus in on it, sell our service based on that pain point, and then anything beyond that we just add in once we've made that sale. Okay? Okay, so during the break, somebody had a question about pre-qualifying customers that call you to make sure that they're the right kind of customers you deal with. Anybody have any issues with that? Like somebody calls up and wants service, and then you run out there and then you look at the lawn and you're like, boy, I just wasted my time. While we're talking about this would be a good time to go into selling year-round contracts too, because that's what you want to focus on. You want your entire customer base to be year-round contracts, not seasonal, not, yeah, I want you to come this week. No, I don't want you to come this week. Yeah, hey, can you come mow my yard one time? My husband's gone for a month. Can you mow it? My lawnmower broke down. All these kind of different things. What you want is a steady, predictable income throughout the year. And if you do it that way, your most profitable season is going to be the winter. You're going to make tons of money in the winter because you're charging the same amount of money, but you're coming half as often, and there's like half the work to do, right? So the way you want to set up your business, if you're doing lawn maintenance, is you want to average out the year and have a flat monthly fee 12 months out of the year, right? Because that way it's gonna you're gonna have that steady income throughout the year. That's again when I got to that point where it was me and two other guys, that's what we had. We had 80 accounts, paid us monthly, 12 months out of the year, and we just, it was a nice steady income, and that's a sweet spot. That's really, gives you the ability to do that. So how do you get people how do you sell monthly contracts? Okay, so let me tell you how we used to do it. How I used to do it. When people would call in for service, I would never offer them one time. And if they wanted one time, I would ignore the question. I would pretend like I didn't hear it. Yeah, I want to, so the conversation would go like this. Yeah, I want to call, I'm calling, I'm seeing if you can come cut my grass for me. Okay, we can do that. The way our service works is we come once a week, April through October, and then twice a month, November through March. We take care of the grass, the edging, the bushes, yada, 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 and explain the service. And our prices start at, I give them a start at price to give them, okay, it's going to be at least this much, or it could be more depending on the size and complexity of your yard. Okay? So, a lot of times you would be surprised how many times people would say, okay, come on out and give me an estimate. Okay, if they say that, then you're not going to discuss anything other than monthly, year-round lawn service. Now, that was even when we were small, before we had our schedule full. That was when we had just a few. I would never offer one-time service. However, if I was willing to take it and I gave them the spiel, and they said, well, actually, I just needed it done for the next few weeks while my husband's gone. Oh, okay. Well, where are you located? And how big is your yard? And, if I knew the neighborhood or I knew then I could say, okay, and I still had a minimum, and the minimum was higher, a lot higher than a single, like if you took the year-round service and divided it by all the different cuts, the one time was going to be a lot higher per cut than all the other ones. By the way, do you guys know how to price, how to figure out, your labor costs, and price a year-round contract. Let me just go over it with you real briefly, okay? This is critical. This is very, very critical, okay? So this is the way you figure out whether you're going to lose money or make money on an account. If you're in business and you're doing this, I'm just going to give you a general figure. You need to try to make a minimum. If you're working one or two or three, a crew of one or two or three, yourself and one or two other people, I would shoot for a minimum of $50 per man hour. So that means if there's 3 of you on a yard, you need to be making $150 per hour on whatever you're doing for that yard. Now these big commercial companies, like Brightview and these, that they'll have a crew of 10 on a property for 2 or 3 days at a time. They price it closer to $35 a man hour. But if you're doing it as a small individual company, shoot for a minimum of $50 per man hour, and if you can get more, get as much more as you can. So if you're going to be, let's see, what we would normally, somebody pull out a calculator so I can throw out some numbers to you. So if we went to a lawn once a week, April through October, and then twice a month, November through March, I think that came out to about 12, let's see, 4 times 6 is 24, about 36 visits, if roundabout. Does that sound about right? 36 visits a year. $36 visits per year. Okay, so after you look at this place, if you figure it's going to take, let's just say you estimate it's going to take 1 man hour for each visit on average. So if there's 2 of you, it should take you 30 minutes. If you have yourself and 1 helper, you can go through the yard, do everything that needs to be done, do it well in 30 minutes. Okay, so if it's 36 visits per man hour or per year, and it's going to take you 1 man hour per visit, that's 36 man hours per year. Okay, 36 times 50 would be 1,800, right? Right?
Yep.
1,800. So what's 1,800 divided by 12? 150. Okay. I would still say that's way low. I would. So in a case like this, I would try to get. What if you went to $75 a man hour? So 36 times 75 is what?
2,700.
27.
It's $225 a month.
That's probably like where you need to be. Close to that. If you're making $75 per man hour, you're doing pretty good. That's pretty good. And let me talk about this. Have a minimum. Don't, even if somebody has a postage stamp lawn, don't go below a certain, put your own minimum there. I would say it should be somewhere around $200. And I don't care if their lawn is the size of this room. And again, you're going to have to train your thinking on this, because you're going to look at it and you're going to go, I'm going to pay $225 a month. It doesn't matter. Here's what I like to, the way I like to demonstrate this. If you have a dime and a quarter, okay, it takes just as much effort to pick up the quarter as it does to pick up the dime. Concentrate on picking up quarters. Pick up quarters. Don't worry about dimes. If you let your competition have all of the scraps, the little stuff, the stuff that you pull up, It's not worth spending 5 minutes on a lawn and only getting paid $25 or $30. It's just not worth it. You gotta make at least $75 per stop when you decide to go out and do lawn service. Does that make sense? Okay.
Typically, those low ballers are going to be your biggest headaches anyways. 'Cause they're
Exactly.
Calling you back, they're going to be looking for extra services for free. They're going to complain to the point of they're going to put you out of business.
Exactly right. People that try to lowball you are going to be your worst customers. It's the people with money. It's the people that are willing to pay that extra amount of money for you to show up on time, for you to do what you say you're going to do, and to do it well, that are going to be your best customers. Okay. So, as far as pre-qualifying customers, you want to give them a minimum. If first of all, try and sell them on a contract first. Just don't even mention one time. If you do that, that's the only way you're going to build up. It's the only way you're going to build up your contracts is if you stay away from the others. You can still accept them if you're about to lose them, but if you offer it, people will always gravitate to the, oh yeah, I'll just take it seasonally, or the grass stops growing in October. I'll just hire you again in March when it starts growing. If you let them do that to you, they will. But if you don't offer them that option, then you will gradually. We went from, again, when we had our 80 customers on contract, we got those between, that was about 2010 and, 2003 is when we started, but so if you take that whole thing, so that's 7 years, it took us 7 years to get 80 people on a contract to that point of having a monthly income 12 months out of the year of about anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. So, but that was by doing what I just said, by saying, just offering that one thing. Is that any other questions on pre-qualifying? Yeah, Colby.
I'm not trying to be ugly, but you're talking about the payroll, and then you had to lay the people off on the lawn care side, right?
No.
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 What was you said that you owed 8,000 payroll, and then you had to let everybody know.
Okay, that was after I made the decision to expand the company. So we built our company. I built the company up to about 80 accounts year round, and it was me and 2 other guys, and we were just cooking with gas. I mean, we were doing great. But I didn't want to work in the business on a year-round basis. I wanted to be out of the business and have somebody else working it. In order to do that, I had to expand the business. When I expanded the business, that's when things just started getting real wobbly and didn't work out, and that's when I had to lay people off. Once I stepped out of that. Now, not to say you can't do that, I just did it wrong. I didn't do it right. Does that answer your question?
What did you think you did when you stepped out and messed it up?
I did a lot of things wrong. Number one, I wasn't charging enough. Number two, and one of the reasons I couldn't charge more or wasn't charging more was I was trying to be everything to everybody. I was trying to be a one-stop shop landscape company that was just a commodity. I wasn't, I spent a lot of money. Here's another, just a freebie. I spent too much money on vehicles. I was buying, I bought a couple really nice Ford F-350 diesels because I thought I needed them. I spent, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on trucks and then repairing the trucks and equipment and stuff. I wasn't wise in that. those were probably the main things. If I had priced the lawn maintenance higher that we were doing, my 2 crews, put them in a cheaper vehicle that didn't cost, that I wasn't paying for monthly, then I probably would have, it probably would have turned out differently. Okay? Okay. Okay, so once you found the customer's price point, once you've brought them to, the point of, yes, this is your problem, I recognize your problem, this is the answer that I have to solve your problem, I can alleviate the pain. Exactly how do you close the deal and get the contract? What you do is you restate. Basically, you've done your investigative work, you've got the customer to tell you what their pain point is, and you've listened to it very carefully, and you state back to them, okay, if I hear what you're saying right, then this is what you're looking for. You're looking for this, 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 and this. Is that right? Okay. Well, let me tell you how our service works, and then frame the way your service works into fitting into that pain point. Okay, you've had problems with people not showing up. Let me tell you how I schedule my service so that we show up every single time. I'll give you my personal cell phone number and I will answer it every time, and if I don't, I will return your call within so many minutes if you have any issues. I will do this, I will do that, and you address every single pain point to where it's like, okay. And then you just stop and you just stop. And what you want at that moment is you want them to give you a buying signal. You want them basically what it is, it's almost like when you start off with the appointment, they're there, you're here, and you take a step. You take a step and get closer, and then at that final moment, you want them to take that final step to you and say something like, okay, well, how much is it? Or when can you start? Or give you some kind of cue that they have accepted what it is that you're wanting and they're ready to start doing business. You haven't quoted them a price at this point yet, but they are interested enough to where you know that if things are going to, it looks like things are going to go that way. So once they give you that buying cue, then you can say, okay, this is what we'll do. We can start here next Tuesday. The price will be, can we go ahead and put you on the schedule? And then just be quiet. More people talk themselves out of a sale than you can imagine. If silence is golden. When you are talking to a prospect, you let them, you state your answer to their problem, and then you shut up. And you let them say, okay, all right, because people, a lot of times after you present the contract to them or present the price to them or whatever, it takes them just a little bit of time to absorb that, to think about it. It's like, and if while they're doing this, you start talking, it interrupts that whole process in their mind. You got to be silent, and sometimes it's an uncomfortable silence. Can we put you on the schedule? Yeah, go ahead and put me on the schedule. Okay, all right, that's good. If they don't give you that buying cue, then there's something you haven't covered, or there's still something out there that is preventing them from moving forward. So then you might want to go back and you might want to go, or they may bring it up. Well, what about this issue? Or what about that issue? Have you ever had somebody go, well, I want to talk it over with my wife? Does that ever happen?
Oh, yeah, that's here.
Okay, let me tell you how to handle that. This is it doesn't work every single time, but it's very effective. So All right, so this is what we can do. This is what, what it is. This is the way we'll solve your problems. And does this sound like a good thing to you? Okay, yeah, I think so. How much is it? It's this much per month. Okay, well, I need to talk it over with my wife. Okay. Well, I don't blame you. I would talk everything over with my wife as well. I don't make any decisions without talking things over with her. Let me ask you something. Do you think once you talk it over, do you think that she'll be agreeable with this? Yeah, I think she probably will. So after you talk it over with her, then and she says yes, then we can probably go ahead and go start servicing you. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I'll tell you what. This is what we can do. I can go ahead and fill out a service agreement now and leave it with you. It'll have all the information on it. It'll have everything, the price and everything. You can actually show it to her, and then after you talk to her, you can take this two ways, right? You can, if you feel confident, if you don't want to be too pushy, you got to really walk a line here. If you feel confident and you feel like this guy's really, like he's right on the edge, or this lady's right on the edge, you can say, we can go ahead and fill out a service agreement, sign right here. I'll take it, no obligation until you call, or no obligation unless you call me and cancel it. I mean, we will be here unless you call me and cancel it after you talk to your wife. And if she objects, if you don't want to go through with this, there's no obligation. We'll just tear this up and it'll be done. You don't owe us anything. Okay? Now you can go that route to where they have to call you to cancel it. If you feel confident and comfortable. If you don't feel that comfortable, what you can do is we can go ahead and fill out a service agreement now. Sign it, no obligation, and that way I'll leave you a copy, I'll take a copy. If you decide you want to go through with this, then just call us. We'll have all the information and we'll just plug you into the system. Does that sound good? Yeah. And what you'll find is a lot of times as they're filling it out, as you're taking down everything, they'll just say, just go ahead and put it on the schedule. I'm sure it'll be okay. If you get them, see, here's the deal. I don't know what is it? Was it Newton that came up with the law of motion? A body in motion tends to stay in motion until it's acted upon by an equal and opposite force. Well, it's the same. Happens the same way in sales. If you just get the ball rolling, and if you start somebody in motion, there's a good possibility that motion will just continue and you'll end up with a sale. If you just say, okay, all right, talk to your wife and call me, they may or may not call you, but if you kind of get that motion going, go ahead and get them to fill out a service agreement, go ahead and get them to give you your information and either call you back if it's not okay, or call you back if it is okay. One of those two, you'll get a much higher close rate with people who have to talk it over with your spouse. And then, and that's kind of you can also weed out the ones that are just kind of, blowing smoke up your leg. If they say, no, I don't want to fill that out, then they're not going to, they're probably not a valid prospect. Couple of the easiest ways to close a sale is, a lot of times you talk with a customer, you give them a presentation, everything seems to be good, and you just kind of don't know how to end it and ask them for the business. A couple of the easiest ways to do that is to say, okay, can I go ahead and put you on the schedule? We'll be here next Tuesday. Does that work for you? That's not actually going ahead and saying, all right, are you ready to do business with us? But it's a way to ease them in. Again, you can use a pain point and frame it in the pain point. So you've got these weeds over here, I mean, we talked about these weeds. Would you like us to go ahead and start working on those weeds for you next week? Would that be good for you? And that way, that's an easy way to ask them, are you ready to start doing business? Are you ready to pull the trigger? Are you ready to go ahead and get this thing going? And if, and if they say yes, then okay, let's just go ahead and fill out the paperwork and we'll get you on the schedule. Have you ever had anybody commit to a job and then back out of it? Has that ever been a problem? A couple ways that you can avoid that from happening is get a deposit up front. Especially if it's a landscape job or something like that, or even a monthly. Go ahead and ask them for a deposit. Whenever we do a one-time job that's going to be of significant dollar value, we always get 50% up front. Now, we don't get it way up front. We'll say, okay, before we start, we're going to need a deposit here. I don't feel comfortable with holding people's money for weeks at a time. I won't do that. But once the job, is 2 or 3 days a week away, then we'll go ahead and call them. We're ready to come. Need to get your deposit so we can put you on the schedule and do this. Okay. But have you ever had anybody once you completed the job refuse to pay or drag you out or have any problems with anything like that? That's a lot of time. I hear a lot of stories like that. A couple things that you can do to keep from ever getting stiffed on a job is, number one, when you're ready to start the job, get the deposit and confirm the total price and confirm that when you're done with the job, you expect payment in full. So we're going to come out next Tuesday. We need a deposit of $1,500, which will help us get the material and get everything going. And then when we finish, we expect to finish by Thursday or Friday. At that time, we'll go ahead and collect the balance of the other $1,500 and we'll be all set, okay? And then once you start the job, if it's going to be multiple days, or even if it's within 1 day, you want to check in with the customer when you start the job, okay, and go over it again. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. Is that what we agreed upon? This is especially important if there was a space of time between the time you first talked to them and the time you're actually doing the job. Because things in people's minds can change. Well, you didn't say you were going to do that, or you said you were going to do this and not that. So you always want to, especially if there's a time lapse between when you first talk to them and you actually do the job, that you go over it again. And then in the middle of the job, okay, Mr. Smith, here's what we got done today. We did this, this is what we're going to finish up. We'll be finished by this time. Does that look good to you? Does it look good to you so far? Yes, it looks good. Okay, all right. Then when we're done, Mr. Smith, we're done. We did this, 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 and this. Just like we said, does this look good to you? Yes, this looks good. Okay, very good. Do you have a check or a credit card that you would like to put the balance on? So if you confirm everything over and over and over and over again with them, you eliminate any wiggle room that the customer has as far as disagreeing or coming up with stuff that they're not happy with or whatever. And if there is anything they're not happy with, then you can address it right then. Well, I'm just not sure about this right here. Okay, no problem. We'll fix that. That'll be done before we finish tomorrow, and we'll make sure that that's done. And then when you bring them back out, you confirm, did we fix this right? Is this the way you wanted it? Okay, yeah, all right, very good. It's very important because a lot of times people will have a tendency to not remember things the way you discussed them the first time. And if you go over that go over that will eliminate those problems. Okay, a few things that you can do to just boost your profit overall. One of the things that you can do is add to what you already are doing for the customer. In other words, if you have lawn maintenance with a customer, you can come up with other services that you can tack on to that service. Might be annual or semi-annual, annual or semi-annual soil samples, soil tests. It might be irrigation inspections. It could be applying lime. It could be applying fertilizer. You guys, you guys have the ability to apply fertilizer. You can get a fertilizer license. You can't apply pesticides, but fertilize. There is no nutrition in that soil out there. It's sandy. And what you can do is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what we're going to do is we're going to take a soil sample every 6 months. And we're going to find out, because nutrients leach out of the soil, and we're going to find out where your soil is every 6 months. We're going to show you this, the results of this soil sample, and then we're going to formulate a fertilizer program that's going to compensate for whatever nutrients you're lacking here. Is that something you would be interested in? Yeah. And we're also going to apply lime to compensate for the any low pH that's in your soil. Does that sound like something that you would be interested in? Because quite frankly, we have sandy soil here. It's inert. It has no nutritional value, and your lawn is looking a little, it could look better. So is that something you're interested in? Yeah, that's something that you can tack on to to your normal monthly contract. You can tack on, like I said, it doesn't take but a few minutes to go through an irrigation system and look at it and make sure none of the heads are broken, none of the filters are clogged, everything's spraying the way it takes a few minutes. But you can charge a monthly fee for doing that 2 or 3 times a year and just tack it on to the regular thing. So if you could add, by these additional services, if you could add $100 a month to an account and only spend another 2 or 3 hours a year to an account, you would want to do that. Another thing that you can do is to charge startup fees. Once you start a customer, for the longest time, I knew I could do it, but I just avoided it. Startup fees, it's just like, startup fees. However, a year ago, last spring, we decided to add a salesperson, an actual salesperson to our staff instead of myself. And when I started thinking about that, I'm like, just really don't want to pay all that much more money out to another staff person. How can I make the customer pay for this person, this new person I'm bringing on? I thought, okay, so we'll charge a startup fee, and that startup fee will be what will compensate us for the salary that we're paying this salesperson. So I wasn't really sure how that was going to be received by our clientele. I wasn't sure how that would go. But I'll tell you what, every time we went out there and we mentioned it was a 20% startup fee, they're like, okay, okay, hardly any pushback whatsoever. And it was one of those things where, after we started doing it, we're like, why didn't we start doing this sooner? Because everybody just accepted it. It was just like, okay, yeah, that's just going to be part of the business. So that's another way you can do it. If you're selling, one of the most effective ways that I found to sell like different landscape material or products like landscape lighting. Landscape lighting is one of the easiest things to learn how to install. It's very simple to do, but it's highly profitable. You can make a lot, you can make thousands of dollars profit off of a single landscape lighting job. And you can, you come to your customer and you go, you've got such a beautiful landscape here. It would look so nice if it were lit up at night. What do you think about it? Do you think that would look nice? Or just use your own opinion as to, wow, see, you're the landscape expert. You're the one that's kind of in charge of this property. And if you use that position that you've been placed in to actually make suggestions to the client and say, hey, I think this would look nice. I think that would look nice. People love that kind of stuff because they've hired you because you're the expert, because they don't want to deal with it, because they don't know plants, they don't know mulch, they don't know what's available out there to enhance. Remember, from the very beginning, we talked about people want to spend money. If you give them a good reason, if you give them a good value, then they will willingly spend their money, but you got to give them a good reason to. So there's so many different things that you can take a basic account, just annual flowers, new mulch, all these things. And these one-time things can add literally thousands of dollars of pure profit in a very short amount of time, because it's out of the ordinary. It's a one-time thing. It's not something that if you say, hey, Mr. Jones, I think we ought to remulch your beds, he's not going to shop around. He's not going to go, okay, well, I'm going to get 3 bids and then I'll let you know if I'll let you do it. He's not going to do that. He's going to say, oh, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and figure out how much it's going to be and let me know, and then we'll probably go ahead and do that. So look for these things that you can do. And that's why it's important to keep your schedule flexible enough so that you can add this stuff in there. If you're just slammed to the wall with work that you sold too cheaply, that you're just spinning your wheels and you're trying to get done and you don't have time for this stuff that can really bring in a lot of profit to you. Okay. Yes, Aaron.
Like, example for numerical, like you're talking about your startup fees, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The customer's like, what are you doing if you're 20% extra to start up? What is the value on that to that customer?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean startup fee? What is that? Like, what are you
Yeah.
going to do different than just
Right.
showing up and starting?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest with you, I had the same hesitation. I was wondering how many people would ask me that. Out of literally hundreds of people, I had one person ask me. All of them just say, oh, okay. And there's a certain formula, there's a certain way that you include that, okay? So if I'm selling a contract, what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I don't even mention the startup fee up front. I don't mention it till the very bottom. Say, okay, it's going to be this much per month. The startup fee is this, so the first month will be this much, and then after that it'll be this much per month, okay? And they're like, okay. But if, in your case, if you wanted to have an answer for that, if you offered something like, you could, if you wanted to incorporate something like an irrigation check, or incorporate something like something I didn't even get into, you could incorporate like a landscape analysis. And that you could even charge more than a startup fee, which a landscape analysis would be, okay, we're going to go through and we're going to take soil samples, we're going to find out where your pH level is in your soil, what the nutritional level is of your soil. We're going to analyze your sprinkler systems. We're going to go through and evaluate like your bedding material, the mulch in your beds, how the health of your shrubs, the health of your grass, and we're going to make recommendations based on this evaluation. You could do something like that and charge $100, $200 startup fee. If, now, we highly recommend this because, any lawn that we take over, we want to know what's in that lawn. We want to know what we're dealing with so that we can provide you the very best service possible. You don't have to, you don't have to pay it. We don't have to do this, but we highly recommend it. If you don't want it, then, we'll just start. But does that make sense? You could do that, or if it like we charge a smaller startup fee, $20, $25. It just, you could just make the responses general as well. What we normally do is we normally find that whenever we start a yard for the first time, there's things that we find things that need to be done that haven't been done by the previous company or the homeowner that we normally incorporate into our service, and takes us a little more time and effort to get the property up to the level of that we service level that we provide.
That's, oh, go ahead. I don't mean to jump
Oh,
on.
you're good, man?
I was gonna say that's kind of what I do, but I don't do it to every lawn stuff. But I don't necessarily call it a startup fee. So I think it's basically just how you want to word it. Like if I go to a place that obviously the people really care about their lawn, then I'll tell if their grass is a little higher, I'll tell them your first time cut is going to be a little more because I'm going to take more time here. I got to learn your yard. I got to figure out where all
And
your
that's a good, yeah,
sprinklers
I like that.
You know what I mean? And I've never had one person turn me down for it.
Yeah.
Every single. I did one just 2 days ago. I told the girl, I'll cut your yard for this much, but this first time cut, I'm gonna have to double cut because your yard's a little thicker, so I'm gonna have to charge you for 2 cuts. No problem.
Yeah.
Go for it. Do it.
I've never started a customer and didn't take 2 or 3 times the amount of time just on the edging.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
and that's
point.
other things that I'll tell them, you got to reestablish your edges,
Yeah.
reestablish all the borders of your yard. So,
And I would do that.
Your first time,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
And I would do that every single customer. I would do it. And just, that point about, well, I don't know your yard. It's going to take me a little time to get used to it, to go around it, to know what the routine is going to be. So that's going to take me more time. So that's why I charge a startup fee. I think that's a very, very good point. Yeah.
He actually struck on it. It was like just prior maintenance. If someone hasn't been taking care of it, you like to keep things maintained. Well, it has to be at a certain height. Well, if it's 3 times the height, that's 3 times the wear in your machine.
Right. Exactly. And more time.
And your time.
And more time.
And edging.
Look, I gave you 2 extra feet of driveway.
Give him a whole new driveway, basically.
You had
Did I even know this was here? This whole
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you from experience, if you're not charging a startup fee, you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving it on the table. Okay. I'm going to finish up with this concept. Is that, the way to be profitable is to build your route dense and not broad. Have the focus of the area that you service, have it as small as possible. I've told several landscape people that I know, Holly by the Sea over here, there is probably about 5 miles, 3 miles by 3 miles, so probably about 9 square miles there of I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could build an entire business in that one community. And you could go from yard to yard to yard to yard to yard to yard. 5 minutes or less between each stop. That's the way you want to build your business. You want to focus on either, preferably one geographic area or one demographic or one something, so that your business is dense in one way or another. If you're, you want to avoid going to Fort Walton and Niceville and Destin and Crestview, and there's so much travel time taken up in that and wasted time. If you can hit, again, when we were doing it, we had maximum, when I was doing lawn maintenance, it was rare to have more than 5 minutes between each customer travel time. I mean, that was rare. It was usually 5 minutes or less, and it was just one right at that. We do 20 a day like that. Boom, 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 and that's how we were able to do 80. And we weren't just mowing. We were doing mowing, edging, bushes, spraying the beds, full-blown maintenance on every single account, 20 a day, but we were doing it because everything was so dense. And that's one of the things that's going to make you so profitable and make your life so much easier, is that if you take your accounts and target one neighborhood, or target one zip code, or target one home HOA, or target one something, and just flood it with marketing and make your truck visible. That's another thing that's really important. If you have the name on the side of your truck, that's one of the cheapest, most profitable forms of advertising you'll have. When we had one truck in Navarre, people would go, "I see your trucks all over the place." Well, the thing is we had one truck. They were just seeing that one truck going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But it made us appear bigger than we were, because, if you're only spending one day out of the week or out of the month in a certain area, it's kind of like commercials. If you see one commercial every a month, it's not going to stick. But if you see that thing every day, and that's the way your truck is if you are constantly in one area all the time, people are just going to have that, they're going to know who you are. They're going to see you, and they're going to go, "Wow, this guy must really have something going on." That's their little world. That community is their world, and you are a big part of their little world when you're in that just that one area all the time.
You ever run into that as you transition from condos?
Yeah, what I would do, I would approach that the same way I would approach raising prices, because basically that's what you're doing, is you're raising their price. But I would approach it from the standpoint, if you had customers that were seasonal clients, I would approach them early in the season. I wouldn't wait until October or whenever they normally quit. I would do it now, because they don't want to lose you in the middle of the summer. But I would approach them and say, "Hey, look, I'm married now, and I need my business to provide. I just need to be able to provide for my family, and the only way I can do that is by having year-round customers. And from now on, that's all I'm accepting, and I'm not going to be doing seasonal work anymore. Here's a proposal for year-round." And I would do that, I don't know, depending on how many you have, I would do it one at a time and kind of see how much pushback you get. And even if they say, even if they refuse you, you still have the option right then of going back and going, "Well, okay, I'll make an exception for you. But just to let you know, the next time I get, if I get somebody in or when I get somebody in that's year-round, then I'm just going to have to, we're going to have to discontinue your service, and I'm going to have to replace you with somebody who does it 12 months out of the year." One other thing I will mention, I have had a few people in the past approach me about, "Hey, can you mentor me? Can you, really work with me one-on-one?" And I've been hesitant to do that up until here recently, and I have made the decision to make myself available for that. In the back of those books, if you would be interested in that, there is an application to fill out. I don't do it with everybody. I only do it with certain people that I feel that it would be beneficial to. There is a cost involved, but if we would discuss that after, if you were interested. So I just make you aware of that. if that's something you're interested in now or later. I will be doing more of these. We'll be doing, one on employees. We'll be doing another one on marketing, another one on, different topics that relate to the lawn care business. So we'll keep you in the loop and let you know when these other ones come up. Thank you for joining me for this presentation. If you're having problems with your lawn, call me for a free consultation, 850-939-9868. I just have this passion for taking unhealthy lawns, finding out what it's going to take to make them healthy again.
Father & Son has been taking care of my lawn since I installed it. I have people stop all the time and tell me I have the best lawn in Kelly Plantation. It's just incredible. So I would recommend Father & Son. As a matter of fact, people have stolen my signs off the grass after you come and spray. So I think they want them for the number. I'm very happy with what Father & Son does.
Call me today for a free consultation to find out how I can help you with your troubled lawn.